A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher.
What do you think it means to you?
Okay, what does it mean to me? Well, I'll start from the beginning. I was born in 1957 in Moscow, USSR. 12 short years from the end of the Second World War, and 3 or 4 even shorter years from the death of Stalin. My parents were greatly affected by the war. So was the entire Russia. But on my mother's side, she was a survivor of the Holocaust. She wasn't in a Nazi concentration camp. She didn't have to hide in the attic for years. She was out of town when German army crossed the Lithuanian border, and she called home when she found out the news, and her mother said, "Come home immediately." And actually, the town where she was born and living at the time, Kibartai, was on the border with Germany. Some of the town was actually in Germany. She hopped on the train, and that was her story. I kind of like, when I was a kid, I was asking her. Then she would tell me something about the war, her time when she survived, unlike my father, who didn't say one word about the war. Anyway, she hopped on the train, and the entire transportation was going east. Everything, buses, cars, trains. So said to me when she was on the train, the German planes would bomb the trains, which is like retrieving civilians. Why waste bombs on retrieving civilians? Bomb the military installations, soldiers. I don't know, whatever. That war was just so mind boggling, didn't make any sense as far as human civilization goes. Anyway, she said as the air raid would start, there was this man next to her. He would just pick her up, scoop her up, and run into the woods. And when the air raid would stop, they would go back on the train and continue. I suppose train wasn't bombed. How would it like still run? Maybe they just shot it with the bullets and stuff, penetrate the roofs and just kill. Um, so they would go back on the train, and she said she never even asked his name. She never knew where he went, what happened to him. He was pretty much gone. And when she came back after the war to her hometown, Kibartai, she found out that everyone she knew, except for very few people, this one family pretty much, were executed. Her parents, her brother, her relatives, her friends, everyone was brought into the this big field. I went there actually when before we immigrated from Soviet Union. There's a little stone that says 20,000 Jews were executed at this spot. She cried quietly because it's been many, many years later. But this is kind of like what my mother went through at the age of 18, 19. My father, at the age of 17, and that was my grandmother. Some of it was my grandmother, some of it was my father telling me. Uh, the enlisting age was 18, but he was 17. So with his identical twin brother, by the way, my father's name was Jupiter, and and his identical twin name was Mars. My grandmother told me when she had twins, the doctor who delivered them insisted, begged her to call one Mars and the other Jupiter. A lot of times she couldn't even tell them apart. And they would look at her and smile. They would say, "Ma, who's Mars and who is Jupiter?" And she would like, "Mars, Jupiter," and they wouldn't say anything and just laugh. So he enlisted into the Soviet army to fight Nazi Germans, and he was sent after like maybe a few days of boot camp training, just how to shoot the gun, to the Battle of Stalingrad. The bloodiest battle possibly in a history, human history of warfare. 1.2 million people died, a third were civilians, and the battle lasted over a year. The two head persons, Stalin and Hitler, refused to give up. Stalin with such an ego trip that because that city had his name, Hitler could not take it, could not take it. He would sacrifice the entire population of Russia, but he would not give up that city because it had his name. This is all actually my opinion, my knowledge. I don't know if it's true. Maybe a historian who's watching this will think otherwise. But anyway, Mars, to my knowledge, died right away, possibly in the Battle of Stalingrad, because. So my parents were greatly traumatized. My father went from Stalingrad to Berlin. I think he was 9 years in the army. Who knows how many people he killed? Maybe children, women, rape. I don't know. He never talked about the war. I actually have his medals hanging on the wall. Uh, one of them is for the Battle of Stalingrad, one of them for bravery, and one of them for liberation of Berlin.
I saw the medals on the wall in the cabin of the boat.
Right. I I think they're bringing me good luck for them. My mother was actually a concert pianist, and my father was an architect. So all my life, growing up with my parents, all I saw is two angry dogs trying to tear each other apart, fighting, 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 all the time. So this is the environment I was born into. And when I don't remember before school, but when I went to school and throughout my time in school, I was scared of everything. I had so many fears. I was super shy. My mother said I was so shy that I didn't say a word until I was 2 years old. I remember vaguely hiding behind my mother's leg when somebody would say, "Oh, what a cute kid. What's your name?" I wasn't able to say it. I was too afraid to say anything. So I was beaten up by bullies. I would never fight back. I probably cried and ran away. And they would, you know, because, and call me a wuss and stuff because, Russia, tough. You had to be tough. I wasn't tough. Everybody else around me was tough. So that was really painful to grow up like this. Then one day, and I remember that like yesterday, I was watching TV and there was an announcement on TV said that a television station, which, it's communism, everything is centralized, there's not private stations, it's Moscow Central Television Station, is looking for young actors to be a student in acting school. And I thought, if I become an actor and I'll be like in front of the stage or a camera, maybe I will have to or learn how to overcome all those fears. So I wrote a letter, obviously back then no internet. I wrote a letter, sent a letter, and I got a reply. They told me come on such a day and such a time to such a place, the central television station. I came. There were a lot of kids there, maybe hundreds. And I auditioned. They wanted me to read a poem. I wrote a poem of my favorite Russian poet, Sergei Yesenin. And they wanted me to imitate an animal. I imitated an elephant. And I got in. And maybe that was one of my first step, that single step in that particular journey. Because I believe I had dozens of journeys. We all do. We all change. And with every change, I think we make that single step to that journey of new us, different us. And my acting career started. I suppose let's leave that for the next episode.